Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the top 10 profitable strategies for social media marketing session hosted by the International Food and Agribusiness Management Association's Young Board. My name is Tata Vikavatisian. I'm an assistant professor at California State University, Chico. I also serve as president of IFEMA Young Professionals Network North America chapter, and also as a member of the IFEMA Young Board. Before we dive into today's topic, let's take a quick look what's in store for us. This is the first session of a two-part series designed to inform farmers and small businesses in agriculture and food sectors how to leverage social media to reach new markets and boost economic success. And now, without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Ariana Torres. Dr. Torres is an associate professor at Purdue University. Her research focuses on the decision-making processes of farmers, buyers, and consumers of specialty crops. Let's welcome Dr. Torres to the virtual stage.
Thank you very much for your introduction. Well, thank you for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be presenting today. I've been doing research on social media adoption from businesses in the agricultural sector for about 7 years. And the presentation that today I'm gonna give is accumulating a lot of that research that you can use it to train agribusinesses, including farmers, or anybody in the food industry, in the food larger sector, or you can use it actually for personal reasons. But a lot of this is based on research that we've done and a lot of extension efforts that we've done in different countries, also in the US. So I'm gonna continue with the presentation. When I'm gonna talk about social media, I like to tell you why do I suggest the things that you need to do or businesses need to do. So I'm gonna talk to you as if you were consulting a business or if you were a business owner, but also it applies to you if you're doing research in social media. Those are things that we face on a daily basis. We do know that the agricultural sector tends to be lower on the adoption of social media marketing, and we know that the most of the adoption of social media marketing has been among corporations. So there's been a lot of push to provide smaller farmers and a smaller business with these tools that actually I'm presenting today have no cost. So today anybody can adopt any of these strategies minimally cost. So I'm gonna keep going. So the first thing that we know, and this is we know all of this because we are related to the agriculture, is that if a business wants to use online marketing, they need to position their business. They need to provide that, make that consumer and the agriculture reduce that distance. And one of the good ways to do it is through social media, because the projections of social media users around the world is increasing tremendously. We know that even during COVID and after COVID, or well, during COVID, we're still on COVID, we see that a lot of people are making decisions on their cell phones. And that's when social media plays a role. There are several critics of social media or social media platforms. But one thing that we know is that social media is going to stay for a while. So how do we train businesses to be profitable and use this tool for their betterment of their business, but also sustainability of the food system? So this is part of a table that I really like to start with, and it's called the journey of the social media buyer. So the buyer's journey. And on the first column, we have what is the step of the journey. We know that when we're looking into making decisions as a customer, we go through a journey. So the same journey as you are aware that there is a need, then you're considering to go into that and to purchase that, then you're making that decision. Then you're an adopter, meaning that you are coming back to that business, and then you became an advocate of that business. Same goes through this platform called social media. So I kind of want to go a little bit about that. So the first step is awareness. And when we do in social media, our objective is to create awareness. And what our objective is important, it's because we need to, anything that we do has to have an objective. If we're looking into the goals that a company has, and the next presentation that I'm going to give is How do we take an objective and we measure the return on investment? So then I'm going to present a lot of research and a lot of things that you're going to do to understand how do we target that objective and how do we track it over time. And then what is the social media strategy that you want to do? And when I'm talking about social media, you may be using Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to focus on the most common ones for businesses. They tend to be Facebook, Instagram, X, that was before called Twitter. And then the activities. What are the things that you do? And I'm going to go over it through those 10 social media strategies. The social media KPIs are key metrics that I would like businesses to understand. What are you looking for? So when you're looking into creating awareness because you're starting your business or you're developing a new product or you're creating a new event, you have a strategy, you have an objective, you have a strategy, and you have your key metrics that you want to track over time. And then what are the results that you're looking for? When a buyer is considering, how you use social media is going to differ because you want to generate that demand. And then in that case, we're going to look into what are the posts that we want to focus on. We're going to count the number of engagements and the type of engagements and the messages. What you're looking to is interaction with your brand. People are ready to decision. That's when you drive conversion. That's when you start using most of these strategies that I'm going to present later on. And what you're looking into is clicks. You're getting right here into when you drive conversion, you're spending some money. You're using targeted advertisement, you're boosting or response posts. So what you're using is you're tracking how much businesses are spending versus how much money are they generating. And we have a research paper in the works right now working into that for the environmental horticulture industry that I'm going to present in January. Then the adoption that's when we need to delight the customers, right? We need to make them come back. And that's when we have giveaways and we have contests and we have events. And what we care about, the metrics that we care are going to be different. And then, of course, we want your customers to bring other customers. And that's what we get into advocacy. You turn buying to sellers. So they're going to help you. And some of these strategies are going to be more on the awareness. Some of these are going to be in the consideration, decision, adoption, and advocacy. So these are the strategies. The first is the visual content. If you're a user of social media, you know that visual content creates more engagement. So it's different. Let's say you go to Facebook. Among Gen Z, Facebook is probably not the most popular social media platform. But when you're looking into businesses, a lot of events happen through Facebook, even more so on Instagram, and we're looking into X. Visual content is so important. I'm going to talk about how do you educate your audience. And a lot of these strategies and specific tasks that businesses, or if you're doing a consultant job for a business, or if you're training businesses, or if you're a business owner, or if you want to conduct research on business adoption of social media, we need to look into how are they educated and what are the results that are coming from education. We know that, especially if you're applying to urban or the cities, if your customers are in the cities, you need to educate them about what you do. So I'm going to give you a specific idea how you want to track and how to do that. Then you need to highlight your team of your story. I'm going to tell you why is that very relevant. And one of the things that I do with social media marketing on training and on research is understanding how do businesses do this. Use the customer testimonials, engagement with community. Agriculture is very seasonal by definition. So creating seasonal and timely content is going to be very important. So I'm going to dive into each of them. I'm going to tell how businesses can do contests and giveaways, how they can collaborate with influencers, use those hashtags wisely, and then be responsive. The be responsive to customer service, it's probably one of the most important things because that's how we generate good word of mouth. So visual content is key, but what does it mean? So you need to provide high quality images. So for that, you have to have the equipment that is necessary. You may have a good cell phone, a good smartphone that you can capture because what you capture photos, videos, GIFs, whatever you need to do to convey your message effectively. So videos, still images, carousels. Ideally, you're going to have a good equipment because a good equipment is going to have a good resolution. For most businesses, a smartphone is going to be enough. But if you are hiring a professional, you may be looking into a camera. what I recommend is using natural light because it's the best for clear images. So if you're outdoors, which is a lot of businesses in agriculture are going to be, that's the best ideal light for shooting photos or videos. But if you're using indoors, what you want to use is soft light. So right now I'm in Purdue, these very bright white light. It's probably not the best for generating social media content. So you want to avoid shadows as much as you can. When you are using a photo, you need to tell a story. What are you talking about? I've seen a lot of businesses, corporations, even so universities, anybody using social media, posting a photo without giving the background. What is it behind the scenes of that photo? What is your perception or what is your perspective of taking that photo? What were you thinking when you saw that photo? And you may be looking into the journey of your product, because what happens is storytelling is going to add depth to your visuals. You want to add editing tools. And one of the things I suggest, if you can, get the Adobe Lightroom. There is a free version, or you can get Snapseed or VSCO. The idea is that you're going to use the same, you can develop your filter, and ideally you're going to use the same filter for every photo or video that you have. Because in the eyes, when we're looking into research on branding, a lot of the research on branding tells us brand is developed when there's consistency over time. So when there's the same filter that you're going to use for all your photos and videos, you may choose a predetermined filter, or you may develop your own filter where you're looking into color, sharpness, and visual appeal. The idea is to have a natural look, but use it over and over, because in the eyes of the consumer, that is becoming a brand. Even though you may thinking, oh, I just have a farm, or I'm just giving a training, or I'm going to do this for my business. What you want is you're creating a brand, and that brand is going to stick in the mind of your user or consumer or buyer or stakeholder. Even if you have, let's say for my extension program, I try to do the same. So what does it mean? You need to be consistent. Same colors, same filters, same fonts, because consistency builds up brand recognition. I suggest, if you haven't and you're looking to Canva is a great tool. There's also a free version, or Adobe Spark, where you can create some templates and you can create those branded templates. If you have any program or any logo, then you can create that logo that is going to be all the time what is going to give that consistency. That consistency is going to save you also time. And time is very important in social media. Ideally, you can hire some professionals, because a professional photographer or videographer is going to bring that expertise. And that's going to give you kind of like the template that you're looking for the future. They're going to give a high quality result. And this last topic is really important. What we call is user generated content. So there's some research about in agriculture. Honestly, there's not a lot of research, but there is some research about UGC. So UGC, it's basically content that any one of your customers or one of your users has generated. And what you want to use is, when you share what a customer has shared about your business or your products, you are creating that, you're talking about that trust relationship. And we all know that in business and in business development and in business sustainability, trust relationship is the most important factor to develop over time. So the idea is you're engaging with community, your customers are posting about you. So what you do is want to share, and then use the same logos or the same stickers in that user generator. So what I have a photo there is actually from IKEA Canada, and somebody posted about the meatballs. And IKEA is sharing what that customer did, because they're going to tag you. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about is, how do you encourage your customers to share those photos with you? You can create a brand. And actually, I would suggest look into any logo, any imagery. You have to have the social media platforms. You have to have them fully described. You have to have your mission, your vision, your location, because that's, again, it's going to build that trust. And then it's actually very recommended that you find inspiration. So go to companies that you find that they're doing things very good. So for example, I do like Ben & Jerry's. I do like what they stand for. So when I'm trying to look into what is trending right now in terms of posting, a lot of the things change all the time. But one of the things is, you can see these companies who are being probably hiring professionals, you can imitate and you can mimic them. You have to be consistent about what content you present, what is your frequency, and the photos and the filters. The idea, again, is building that brand recognition is going to build that long-term relationship that you're looking for. How do you communicate that brand though? You have to engage, and I have a couple of examples what are your posts are going to be. Regarding on your posts, you have to know who is your target audience, right? Again, you may have different demographics of consumers. If we're doing consumer research, we know that different demographic or different clusters are going to prefer some things. Some of them are going to be more price driven. Some of them are going to be more environmentally value driven. Some of them are going to be more social value driven. So for them, you have to have different posts depending on who is your audience. So you can use humor, you can use UGC is very important. You got to make shop easy. So provide a link and then make everything relevant. And I'm going to go deeper into that later on. You have to educate. Educating is so important. Even looking at me as a professor, I have to educate my audience. I have to educate my stakeholders. When whatever research I do, I have to educate the people that I'm doing that research for. So one of the things that I strongly suggest is when you're looking into sharing educational content, you need to be looked as the expert. So when you're educating, you're creating that expertise and you're showcasing that expertise. For example, crop management tips, insight into sustainable farming systems, information about latest trends in agriculture, whatever you find that it's passionate to you, don't be shy and you have to try to share it. So one of the things that I tell is the farming process in itself is so interesting. Any production or any food production process is so interesting in itself. There's so much content that you can create to provide that authenticity and that behind the scenes so that you want to share with your audience. So you can capture various stages, anything from planting to harvesting. When you're looking into the hard work that goes into your products, into your services that you give. If you're, let's say you care about sustainability or organic or fair trade or social sustainability, those are things that you're committed to. You have to share that. And for sharing, it's like sometimes you don't have to create that content. You can share, of course, content of others, and you're generating that UGC that I was talking about. So images of eco-friendly practices, conservation efforts, or any certification that your business or the business that you're working with have obtained. Growth of the crops is very important too. So one of the things that I suggest is using the time lapse feature of your camera. So if you go to your camera, you can see that you can take videos, photos, but also there's a feature called time lapse. When you have an agricultural process in itself, it's a time process, right? So what you can do is create in a very simple, you may have a tripod or you may just put your phone somewhere and just create a time lapse of, let's say, how your employees are working, how are your plants are growing, how are bugs being produced, how are you serving your customers at the farmers market, or how are you creating your research? Anything that takes time, which is pretty much everything in life, can be showcased with a time lapse. It adds an element of interest in the dynamic of agriculture and whatever you're doing currently. And of course, you kind of have to stay current with the trends and challenges. So what are the trends that are occurring? I'm going to give you a couple of websites where you can actually go and see what are the trends that are occurring right now. So this is an example of, I mean, if you're looking into this photo, agriculture by definition is so beautiful. This is a farmer, a smaller farmer that goes to a farmer's market, and then what can they do? Just take photos, you may arrange them. You can post photos of your farm. What do you care about? You can connect with agricultural pages, farm facts, videos. I strongly recommend videos that are on the faster. One of the things that I recommend is no more than 30-second videos. When you go over 30 seconds, the research has shown that it actually lowers the engagement and people are not going to watch it. It's too long. We all know that the attention span of people, it's actually less than 30 seconds, but the visuals create that 30-second tops. So if you stay around 15, perfect. You can advertise other businesses events. And this is what I call the DNA, right? Share everything that you care about, share everything that you do. And when we're looking into education, one of the things that I like to say is anybody posting on social media, especially a business, should have a rule of thumb that I call the third rule of thumb. So basically, 1/3 of your posts you're going to talk about your products and services. The other third, you're going to create content that has been shared by others. So you're going to share content that has been already designed. You're going to share, what do you care about? What are the agricultural pages? What are the things that are important for you? And the other third should be about comments and generating the user generated content that you're going to have. So as you can see, these third is going to help you avoid what I call the sales approach. You don't want to just post about your sales and your products because it gets repetitive. And this is why educating your customers is really important. Highlighting the team and the history or the story, of your business. For any program, any business, any enterprise, anything, you have to humanize your brand. Because you may have a brand and you may have very nice product, services, data, research, but the way you humanize it is by creating connections and showing who is doing what, right? Every individual have a story. So you can share the story and photos of your team members. I would say introduce each member individually and talk about the roles. They actually can create short videos about their responsibilities and what are they care about. Talk about their expertise and the passion for farming. You have here some photos of very nice people. How are they sharing? Very, very useful also is integrating YouTube to it. The behind the scenes content gives the followers that glimpse into the daily life of a farm or of a business. When you're looking into those images and videos of team members at work, what are you doing if you have animals or you have crops? And then show those candid moments, because again, authenticity is very important. The personalized stories are going to be very important as well. So education, upbringing, or what is inspiring for them to work on the business. The idea is people that are working with you because you're sharing, hopefully, the same values and vision and the mission of your business or your farm. So what you want is that to showcase that from the lens of your employees and your team members. And of course, celebrate milestones. We never think about, oh, probably are harvesting, or we are creating a new product, or we are hiring a new person. Those are moments that you're reflecting. And this is a lot about, okay, you have to kind of be a little bit introspective, reflect what is important for us, and then showcase that to your clientele. Number 4 is customer testimonials. This is very critical because the testimonials is actually the first step into building trust about your brand. So they're a very powerful tool in building that online reputation. So maybe you've heard maybe your grandmother or your grandparents talking about, oh yeah, we went to this store, we go to this store because someone recommended us. Well, in the digital world, this is customer testimonials, is that word of mouth. So that word of mouth is the digital word of mouth that is going to bring that expertise, that trust, that bring customers to your platforms. So one of the things that you want to engage your audience through captions, comments, and storytelling in your post. So your goal is not only to showcase, I told you about the third of your posts need to be about your products, but you also want to build that connection between your farm, your business, and your audience. So ideally, I'm going to tell you, I have actually a few slides about these customer testimonials because this is very important. I find that when I'm looking into the agricultural pages and the platforms, a lot of businesses are not looking into these very important tools. So you need to understand what does resonate with your community, and remember to seek permission from customers. So if you're asking for testimonials, they may be posting them or they may be creating some videos. I'm going to get later into the influencers. So there's a very important tool that goes very well with the testimonials. And you need to make sure that your testimonials align with any relevant legal and ethical consideration that for your business may be. So A lot of the things that I would say is those testimonials go hand in hand with visual content. So, for example, this is a company that creates some uh, facial products. So, what you can do is actually combine any of the tools that I'm telling you right now. So, you have a testimonial, but you can actually also create that testimonial through a poll. Yeah. So, let's say, for the example, this is an Instagram post, and then you're asking for people to tell you how do they use your products. The same thing can happen if you have a business, or if you're doing some training to others. You need to understand how to gather those customers and how to gather their information. They can submit their photos or videos, and that's going to be even more interactive. They should highlight diverse experiences. So ideally, if you're going to use polling to gather those testimonials, one of the polls may be on the quality of, let's say, your farm, and the quality of the products, the friendliness of the staff, or the overall farm experience. We're working a lot with agritourism right now, and one of the things is you're mixing the experience and the products themselves. So think about what are the different things that you can showcase about your business, or the business that can be showcased. So the goal is you're going to talk about all strengths. If you've ever done a SWOT analysis, talk about those strengths, and then talk about what are those strengths, and give people the opportunity, or customers, to talk about you. They can share their success stories. So let's say if you're selling seeds, or your company selling seeds, one of the things that I tell business owners is ask them how is their seed germination, or if they buy produce from them, how was the salad or the health benefits from the produce that they bought from them. Create visually appealing graphics. Again, use a combination of photos, testimonials. As you can see, I'm even creating in this post, I'm even showing you a link to a website. So they're even actually sending you to their shopping website. So this is a very interesting way to use the same post for different things. One of the things is a regular feature, a customer of the week. I'm a proponent of telling whatever you're doing in your business or in a social media platform is to tell who is the person who is the customer or the hero. And you want to share the testimonial of them. It not only gives a reward to the customer, but it also encourages others to be part of that, because there is a thing called social proofing, right? When you see someone buying something or doing something, you know that other people are going to follow. And that's why social media has become such an important tool in nowadays. Again, anything from Walmart to any other website, you can see how customer testimonials are important. You can ask the before and after photos. You can encourage satisfied customers to leave reviews. A lot of them is on Google advertisement or on your Facebook page, because what reviews create is the idea of trust. Also, if somebody's searching for a business that has something related to yours, those reviews are going to make you pop up first on Google search. You want to work with customers that are willing to create short video testimonials. Not everybody is looking to be on a video, but if you're willing to do that, and maybe you can think about a giveaway to get that personal touch. When there is a customer testimonial, make sure you respond. So for example, I have this example here from Walmart. This individual gave that testimonial, and Walmart was immediately keen to respond to that. And even they say who was the person who responded to that. And you want to create a link to those testimonials to your website. Of course, one of the things about social media is you have to have an integrated approach. You have to have a website, you have to also have your social media platforms. If there's a business, there is a brick and mortar kind of business, but the integration of all of that is going to be very important. And you want to showcase this as a page of your social media, of your website. It provides a centralized location for people to read. Here are other examples of how do you get testimonials. You can make a quiz. You can ask to share a positive review, or even you say a thank you. You can create posts, and on the same thing, you can create a thank you note for your customers. Number 5, engage with the community. I feel like I don't have a lot of time, so I kind of have to go a little bit less in depth, but I'm happy to take questions after. User-generated content is very important. So again, consistency, you have to create that consistency. There is that user-generated content. We're going back to relationships. You need to monitor your platforms and respond to comments and adapt your strategy. If you're participating in local events, or if a business is participating in any community initiative, you have to showcase that, because it not only demonstrates your commitment, but it also provides interactions with customers. People are going to come and buy or interact with you if they know you're somewhere. And you want to spotlight other partners in your community, because that is what brings a community and brings authenticity. And feature regular members of your community. You may have customers, employees, or supporters. Again, put that emotional side to something that can be so transactional as a social media platform. Here are examples where it's a photographer asking for community engagement, or there's a Sprout Farmers Market that is looking into, hey, they have a congratulations, they did a contest and Lisa was a winner of that contest, or share a photo from another Instagram account. Again, what you want to build is that community. You can have, this is a very cool thing that I find very interesting, is the live question and answer sessions. You can have videos, a virtual tour of your farm. Again, the behind the scenes look, it's really important to demystify agriculture. This is a way for you to bring together your customers and agriculture. Even if you don't have a business, even if you're training others, you want to talk about agriculture, because if we're looking into the values of people, everybody eats something. So you want to talk about what does it take to bring that food to a plate. You want to monitor and engage in local conversations, provide special promotions for community members. It's a great way to reward local customer base, because we know that right now there's a higher price premium for local things than there are for organic things. And conduct polls and surveys to gather opinions. And that's a great way to engage, create that user-generated content, but also engage with the consumers and express gratitude. I told you, agriculture by definition is seasonal. So something that one of the things that I'm going to talk in January too is how do you build a social media calendar? Social media calendars are really important because you don't have time to be on social media all the time. So what you want is to have by month an idea of what are the posts, going back to creating the buyer's journey that I presented first, creating awareness. What are your posts? What are your KPIs, your key performance indicators, or your key metrics? Or what are the things that you're going to post about? It also allows you to repeat. In social media, it's okay to repeat. So with that, you can capture that seasonal changes. If you know it's a spring and you have flowering, you can showcase the beauty of your farm. It connects with the cyclical nature of agriculture. I think we're all used to getting the same products all year round, but agriculture is seasonal, and that's what it makes it more sustainable, right? Develop a calendar that aligns with your seasons, and then showcase everything that is seasonal. Ideally, you have those high quality videos. If you use Dropbox, that's a great way to organize by key performance indicators or by goal, or remember going to the buyer's journey. Weather-related updates and tips are very important, especially if you're related to agriculture, and then acknowledge an agricultural holiday. If you don't want only agricultural holiday, there is a holiday per day. So there's always on a daily basis an excuse to post about something about social media. But you can also share facts, stories, or promotions related to that. So here are examples. Starbucks is a great example of seasonal posting, because they do have these PSL or pumpkin spice latte that, it creates that seasonality, creates that novelty that you're looking for, and it brings customers to you because it creates that demand. You want to create educational content and offer promotions, again, that are tied specifically to planting and harvesting. So therefore, you are driving that cycle sales, but you can also make those cycle sales more constant throughout the year, and then tailor your content to major holidays. You can share you can share recipes or provide gift ideas. These are examples for agricultural businesses. Again, going back to the behind the scenes, you can talk about What is the transparency of providing that? So for example, Blake Tree Care, the post on the top, they're talking about Mariah Carey can bring the same song out every year. Then I can post the same video about Merry Christmas. So you can actually repeat over time, what are you posting on seasonality? And collaborate with influencers. I have a whole slide about influencers because there is a lot of power on bringing people that have already a clientele. What you want to is reward with contests and giveaways. So what you want is to run contests, and I'm going to give you a couple of things about contests. This is a step-by-step guide. I don't have time to go over this, but there is a whole set of 15 steps. Matter of fact, you have to have goals. What are you looking for? And go back to the buyer's journey. What is the goal of that contest? You need to select your platform where your target audience is most active. So we're looking into younger generations. We're looking into Instagram. You may be looking into YouTube, LinkedIn. You can offer prices that are part of your products and services that you bring. And then you have to talk about the mechanics of the giveaway. So how do they enter? What do they have to do? What are the additional steps required? And of course, always visual content. You have to communicate clearly with the visual content and compelling captions. What is the user-friendly tone to connect with your audience? Of course, you can connect all your social media channels to promote that content. So let's say you're creating a contest on Instagram. Go to your website, go to LinkedIn, go to X, and just promote that and you're driving conversion to your website later on. That's what you're looking for. Here are examples. You can share a coupon code and a link. You can create a countdown for an event, or you can call out specific customers. So for people who are your customers. So that's another way to reward, and therefore they can share, and then you share what they're talking about, and it's a snowball of interactions. You need to create a unique brand hashtag. So I'm going to talk about hashtags later on because hashtags are very important to go back and drive conversion, but also for you to research. There's a lot of research about the use of hashtags on social media marketing. And what it creates is that geolocation of who is coming to your business or who is coming to your platforms. You have to create that user-generated content. Again, UGC is so key throughout all of these strategies because it brings that trust that others have placed on you. You have to communicate clearly. When does it start? When does it end? And if you are selecting a winner randomly, you make sure that everything in the process is very transparent. Announce it when the winner has come, and then thank everyone and try to consider them to involve in your mailing list, expressing gratitude, et cetera, et cetera. Here are examples of different contests that I found very interesting. As you can see, there's a lot of color, there's a lot of photos, there's a lot of call to actions here. Collaborating with influencers. I think I have 5 more minutes, but influencers are critical because if they align with your values and your niche market and your target audience, they can actually drive a lot of conversion. They drive that return on investment that we're going to talk in January. So you need to think about what are some influencers. For example, I found some influencers in agriculture and sustainable farming, but you want to analyze, is their content aligned with what I believe? You want to clearly outline the goals of the collaboration. So if it's increasing brand awareness or a specific product or event, you have to talk about what are you looking for because they have some power over what content they share. So you have nano influencers, you have micro influencers, macro and mega influencers. Here are other examples. Ballerina Farm is a very trendy influencer these days. You can work with them to understand, is there a compensation? Are you giving them free products? Are there discounts? And you got to be transparent to do that. Again, replicate everything and share it to other social media platforms, and then build that long-term relationship with influencers. The hashtags are very important because, again, hashtag in itself, they're very important for research, but you want to have a memorable hashtag for your business. You can use, actually, I recommend using location-based hashtags because it's going to give a lot of geolocation, understanding who buys from you or who's interested in you. You need to have hashtags related to your agriculture, to your farming practices, and your local food movements if you're into those. You can also have to have hashtags that are just specific about your products. And then, of course, add hashtags. Each of them are different types of hashtags that are trending. You're going to reach a wider audience. So, and then you're going to tailor your hashtags to match the season. Again, if you're using different seasonality. And the last type of hashtags are call to action. CTA hashtags are hashtags that are encouraging people. I'm going to give you some examples later on. Here are some examples: product, niche, seasonal, daily. And then if you go to hashtag generator, you'll see you can have different for different day, different hashtags. And so you can go for that. The last strategy is actually one of the most important. For anything, if somebody is making a comment on any of your social media platforms, you have to respond as soon as possible. Again, if I go to a platform and I don't see a response, I'm not gonna believe this customer cares about this business cares about their customers. And we know through research, in customer research, that perceptions become reality in people's minds. So you want to regularly monitor, is there any comment, message, or mention, and you want to follow up with that. You can set up notifications to receive those alerts depending on the platforms that you use. You need to define what are the guidelines for addressing. So if you want to prefer to respond within a few hours, ideally within one business day, so no less than 24 hours. There has to be a designated team member or members to handle all the social media customer service. If you think that in-person social customer service is important, social media customer service is even more important because it can drive vital trends that is going to actually hurt a business. You want to develop standard responses that are going to be copy-paste, so drive people to contact you via email, because you don't want to engage in a conversation or an argument over social media. And you want to, again, personalize that using empathy to build that positive relationship. Ensure that your responses are accurate, informative, and helpful, and then encourage them to DM you, to bring that conversation through email or DMs. So here are some examples that Pottery Barn or Southwest Airlines have done social customer service. Customer service can be good or can be bad. But for example, Pottery Barn drove an extremely bad service to actually a very pleasant experience. You need to acknowledge and express gratitude if it's a positive feedback. And if it's an issue, respond publicly even faster. For sensitive issues, bring that to a more private communication form, and then address them professionally and constructively. You can use chatbots. Chatbots are so useful to have those predetermined responses, and then encourage customers to share their feedback on social media. Here are another 12 examples. You don't need those, but some of the things that I think are important. A lot of these strategies have served a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses, but also it has been proven through research that are the things that actually matter when we're looking into social media. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Ariana, for the great presentation. That was wonderful. I do see in the chat we have a couple of questions. Maybe we'll start from the first one. How do you see the integration of artificial intelligence impacting the agriculture sector in the context of social media use? And what economic implications or opportunities does this trend present for farmers and ag businesses?
So there has been, so when I was talking about the chatbots, there's a lot of talk about integrating AI into these predetermined processes of responding or engaging. There has been a lot of use of AI on being the first contact or providing the first contact if someone is reaching out to you. I think throughout all my 10 strategies, I'm talking about building trust, and I'm talking about building a brand and being consistent. So AI can help with that initially, but there's a second step when you're showing the human side of a business or a human side of a platform. And that's when an AI can be not so good for that purpose. You have to have those predetermined things. AI is great for it, but when you're looking into customized and tailored messages, here's where we're thinking we probably want to focus more on a real person answering those things. And then again, customer service, there are things that can be automated, but things cannot be automated. And also AI has a lot of mistakes. You can have a lot of mistakes through AI, and you don't want to create those mistakes because a mistake can go viral. And with social media, that's where being careful is really, really important.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next question is, do you think affiliate marketing strategies can be employed to enhance revenues for farmers?
I think so. I think they can be employed. I think something that is very important is that what we want to understand is what is the return on investment of any strategy. Usually in the agricultural sector, we know that for farmers, adoption of a lot of technologies tends, especially digital technologies, tends to be slower. So they first may start with a website, and then they later start adopting other things, other strategies. So a good way is to conduct like an economic feasibility of those strategies. Are those strategies going to help, and how are they going to help? And depend on the expectations, right? Have a clear outline of what are the expectations of any strategy is going to be very important to help actually businesses.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next question, do you have any source or paper published on before and after growth sales numbers using social media by farmers?
That's a paper that is coming up right now. We are investigating what is the return, the dollar return investment from any digital marketing. So anything from a website, including social media. So we're looking into how many sales can be driven, not necessarily just because of social media, because we don't have that population and we don't have that experiment, if you may, but we can see how businesses at different stages of adoption and diffusion of digital marketing fare as a controlled experiment and as a control and as an experiment. So that's something we're working on right now. It's kind of a lot of econometrics, so that's why we're kind of late about it.
Excellent. Maybe when you publish the paper, we can share with our webinar attendees. We'll have the link. That would be
absolutely. Yes, it is very interesting because I think the best research is going to be if, let's say, I give these workshops that are more hands-on to businesses. So if I survey the before and then the after, that is something that I'm gonna go to Peru to do a series of workshops. So I'm thinking about collecting that data. I don't think a sample size is big enough for that, but I think I can have some anecdotal data about that before and after.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next question is, what would you do to replace Twitter?
I don't know if I can get into that conversation. I don't know. I think Twitter or X, they provide a channel for different audiences. I think one of the things that I didn't talk about is the audiences for every platform. And honestly, 45 minutes is not enough to talk about all of this. But I think there's a use of Twitter or X. I think there's definitely a use for Instagram. There's a use for Facebook. I think there has been some issues with how Twitter was designed initially and how it has changed over time. And I think that has created an audience shift towards other platforms. But honestly, I don't think I'm able to answer that question because I'm not a great user of Twitter. But I think as long as there's a demand, and we all know that, there's going to be a product to be served.
Great, thank you. And this next question, I think, is a very relevant question. I always think about this when it comes to social media, whether this is for personal purposes or professional. Aiden is asking, what do you think is crossing the line of oversharing?
Mm. So for a business, oversharing, I talked a little bit about you have to have a designated team member that is going to control responses and posting. So there has to be, when we're using a social media calendar, there's something that I call social media audit. We know that there has to be a line of people authorizing. So for example, I know a lot of farmers who may be, I don't know, 70, 80 years old, and they have their grandkids posting on social media and managing their social media. One of the things that I suggest is someone has to veto the posting, because there are some personal things that you should not apply. If you feel uncomfortable that somebody is going to see this, you probably should not be posting that. So there has to be a line of approval. When we're looking into personal, I think you need to think about the repercussions 5, 10, or 15 years down the road. Would you not like to see this post on someone else's profile? If you don't think that's something you want to see in 10 years, you probably shouldn't post about it. It's kind of like, can you be yourself in 10 years down the line and be like, maybe I shouldn't go there. For businesses, the strategies that I gave, they're all valid. I guess it's more like oversharing. It's more like if you have someone, the owner, who is vetoing all the process, then you're having a more secure kind of respondents and then sharing of social media.
Excellent insights. Thank you. Our next question is, do you have any advice on reaching smallholder farmers with digital media? We find that some of our farmers have poor literacy rates and might not be very active on social media. So do you have recommendations on building the bridge to user groups who are a little, quote unquote, behind on social media?
So these are farmers who they think they can use social media. So a lot of it is, when we're looking into international work, one of the things that comes to my mind is the theory of the leader. You're always going to find someone who is a leader adopting something. So using that leader to create a business practice that others can follow is going to be important. The other thing is, what do you want to use the social media for? So if you want to use it to build a community, I think everybody has some sort of social media. If it's not the husband, it may be the wife, or it may be the kids. Somebody in the family, especially if it's a small farmer, you have a family farm, typically. You have someone using that social media, and it's kind of bringing that attention to that. Creating workshops that are very hands-on and they're very at different degrees, it's going to be important. So if I'm going to come and talk on the first workshop about return investment and conversion, people are going to be like, I'm not interested. But if we're talking about different degrees of social media, like 101, okay, this is what we just should be looking into. That's when you're looking into, okay, I need to start with one thing. The other thing is showing how can it be helpful, right? So depending on the industry, it's always industry based. Like some industries, social media is more evidence, but some industries, it may not be so evident. So if it's a small farmer who sells at a farmer's market, you may be able to showcase other farmers. There is a lot of anecdotal experiences about farmers using social media for farmers market sales. If it's in other countries, then what you can do is to build a brand, or to build, as people are deciding, okay, I need to sell this. Well, if you're selling somewhere, you want to have a logo, want to have a packaging, then you start using your social media too. So it depends on the industry, the location, and what is the purpose. But I think having that leader who is actually doing something and benefiting from it, and then sharing in field days or farmer to farmer groups, it's probably going to be very helpful.
Excellent. Are there any tips on how to employ social media marketing in rural areas?
For who? I guess a question I would like. All of these tips can help. Rural areas, I think when there are communities that are not very used to social media, you have to supplement social media, the use of social media, with other channels. So for example, farmer to farmer networks, field days. workshops, typical training things that happen, or networking things that happen, or start social media for networking. So try to integrate social media or digital marketing into all the other kinds of marketing that a business may think they need to do. And if it's rural, I think there's a lot of value in understanding how do you build that community. Nowadays, we know that the uses of social media are increasing exponentially. So most likely a lot of people in even a rural community is using some sort of social media. Find what are they using it for, and how can you build value for a business is going to be more important than just saying you have to use it. Is how do you align the value of that individual and the value that social media can give to them? It's going to be very important.
Excellent. Now we have a few more questions. I know we are over time, but if you are willing to answer this next few questions. All right. How do you deal with aggressive anti-agri activists? Especially social anti-agri activists.
So if I'm a business owner, right, and if I see someone again, so let's say I am not organic and I find someone who is really pro-organic, or vice versa. I think if they're gonna comment on my profiles, I have to respond quickly. And I would bring that conversation internally. I think there has to be and this is when AI is very, very important or very useful, because it reduces your time, right? You can automate a lot of this on AI, ChatGPT or OpenAI. You can create these predetermined statements or predetermined captions that are going to be to address that you are willing to engage in a conversation. And I think one of the things about people who are against your practices or against your farming system or against your business system, it's bringing that conversation and talk about the values, because at the end we all share the same values. It's how do we see those values being employed in a daily basis? So bringing that conversation internally and not having it display on social media, go back to not sharing. It's the best business practice that I would say.
Excellent. What is the potential of social media for smallholders of indigenous communities in rural areas to connect to the market? And then there is another question, how to educate rural farmers who are quite resistant to changes and how to use social media strategies.
So that goes a little bit with the other question. I think I haven't worked with this demographic of farmers, but I think social media can be very useful to build a community. So I think not only to sell, but also, again, going back to my statement, a third of your post should be only to sell. The other third is building that community. I think starting there can really be helpful. If in the rural community, there is a need to sell to outsiders, if they're selling their products to either, I don't know, tourists or people in the city or a wholesaler, that's when you're seeing that connection can bring farmers in a rural area to showcase their products in other places. So not everyone is going to see the same value of social media, but even for building community is going to be important. Sharing agricultural tips, sharing pages, sharing practices. Not every of these strategies can help everyone, but at least some of them, at least half of them are going to help build that community. And that's why I was talking a lot about building a brand, building a community, because those are things that even the slower adopters can see that it is important, right? You're always going to have that community.
Excellent. Do you recommend any specific number of posts per week to optimize views online?
Yeah, so you can actually you can search what is it? It depends on the audience, right? But I would say at least once a week, once a day. You should have at least once a day. If there is an agricultural sector that is less dependent on social media, then you would have at least once a week. But on a weekly basis, you should be able to post. And you can post the same thing every other day. but the content has to be different every week. You have to have different content every week, at least.
Mm-hmm.
In some industries, we're talking about 2 to 3 times a day, which is a lot. But I don't think for agricultural smallholders, that's relevant.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And then our last question, what are the key metrics for measuring the return on investment in social media marketing activities in agriculture, and how can they be optimized to improve economic performance?
So that's what I'm going to talk about on January, but I'm going to give you a little bit of it. So the first one and the most important one is conversion per click. So how many people are, let's say you have a website, or people came to your store, or you had a sale. How many people actually come depending on the amount of money that you invested on that post? So we're assuming that we have a post that is sponsored. So let's say you're spending $30 in the span of a week for advertisement. You want to understand how many people used that coupon, that code, that giveaway, and use that through a click or through your store in person, and then understand what is the return on investment. So you can understand how many people came and then how many sales were generated based on those $30 that you spent. And those are things that are probably the most powerful. Yes, a lot of people are like, oh, okay, look into engagement. How many people like or how many people commented? Those are very nice, especially if you're creating awareness earlier in the buyer's journey. But if you're really investing money onto advertisements, you will see dollar value back. There's a series of KPIs. Also, there are at least 30 KPIs, but I think the most powerful is money over money, because that's how you convince growers this is what you have to use, right?
Mm-hmm. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this session. I wanted to
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ariana, for all your insights, for the time that you took to share your research and finding with us. Couple of reminders for our audience. Again, we're going to have part 2 of this series on January 31st. Make sure to RSVP for the event. If you have any questions, feedback, comments about today's presentation, make sure to send me an email. We'll make sure to answer all of your questions. Again, as a reminder for students and young professionals, IFEMA is offering free membership. It's open from December 1st until end of February. Make sure to go to our IFEMA website, become a member. It's a very, very great community. So with that, thank you for being part of this webinar, and wishing you continued success. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you very much.